Hello, and thank you for tuning out for another edition here on Turning for Home on the Tournament Edge. I'm your host, Andrew Calvano. We have a great weekend of racing slated here. It's opening weekend here at Kentucky Downs after last weekend was postponed to this Wednesday due to inclement weather. But we're back. It's opening weekend, of course, at Big Sandy in Belmont, New York. This week, very special guest handicapper, one of the best guys I know when it comes to capping the horses. Bobby Shoemaker's back. Bobby, thanks for joining us this week.
Thanks for having me, Andrew. Always a pleasure to be with you.
Awesome. And Bobby, let's waste no time. Let's get right into it here for what should be a jam-packed weekend full of racing here. And we'll start over in New York, then we'll jump over to Kentucky Downs. But let's start at Belmont Park. It's race 2, 6-furlong turf sprint for maiden special weights, 2 years old. Number 10, Divine Entry here for Linda Rice and Irad Ortiz. Bobby, what do you make of the favorite here, and where could we go in this race?
I think Divine Entry is much the horse to beat, and for a guy like yourself that is playing exotics, probably the early pick 5, I think that you can single this horse and be confident that you have a big shot to move on. I thought the first race that this colt ran was lights out. If you look at it from a class standpoint, I think this horse faced better than any other horse in this field. I think the 10 post is a very cozy draw. I think you'll get the best ride that you can possibly get from Irad Ortiz, probably setting second shelf. And Linda Rice, no surprise, hot as ever. She's been lightning hot over the last 30 days or so. Probably the best turf jockey in the country, whether I want to admit it or not. And Linda Rice is one of the best trainers in the country, and this horse looks to be very well met. So to me, if you're playing the way you play through the window, especially exotics, I think it's probably Divine Entry and move on.
And I agree with you, Bob. When we first talked about what races we were going to go over, and we said, you know what, let's throw a maiden special weight in there and see what we can do from a pedigree perspective, because you and I, we've never really done that before on air. And I thought we would be able to find something here, but I agree with you, Bob. This one's much the horse to beat. I do have a price play that I'm going to include, but I think as far as who is going to win this race, I think it does lie here with the 10 for all the reasons you stated. Linda Rice, a red-hot barn. You got Irad Ortiz, that 10-post turf sprinting at Belmont, those outside posts, really where you want to be. So I think this one is definitely the horse to beat. But a horse that I am very interested in and will use at a big price is number 1, Tom's Music, at 12-1 for Carlos Martin and Joel Rosario. This one's a 2-year-old winner. That's some type some stuff I look forward to here when it comes to baby races. You got to find which ones were winning at 2. I look at everything from the dam siblings, first siblings from the horse itself. If we go on in that, the mom is a multiple stakes winner on the grass. Good to see. The dam is half to Clasura, a stakes winner on grass as well. So the pedigree is definitely there for the turf. This one started out in a maiden 50 claimer for D. Wayne Lucas at Saratoga. Didn't run a step. Had a troubled start, but still probably wasn't winning that race, to be honest with you. Claimed out of there by Carlos Martin. Throws this one on the turf, protects this one in the maiden special weight group. Runs an even race behind the next stout winner. Thought this one could take a step up from that one. Last out, runs in the slop, gets defeated by a mile, 53 lengths. I think they just wanted to get the horse's feet running. That was last Sunday. They wheeled this one very quickly back here, from Sunday to Saturday here, less than a week. I think this one is primed and ready to go. I don't think he lost too much in that race. I think connections are okay with wheeling him back. A big fan of that when it comes to main special weight races. When I see a horse doesn't really run a step, but connections are confident enough to keep him at the same level and wheel him back, that kind of stuff screams value to me. Carlos Martin, 13%, not really a high number, but for his type of barn, I'm okay with it. 13% with 2-year-olds turf sprinting and maiden special weight company. Those winners come off with a median payout of $18.20. So from a horizontal perspective, from a tournament perspective, maybe this is one you want to include. I think that Chad Brown gets bet. The Linda Rice is going to take more money. Maybe you get this one near 15, 20 to 1, slipping through the odds there. I think you could use this one underneath. And if you don't single Divine Entry, probably include this one here as well. So, Bobby, I'm really liking the one on a value price.
As far as the pace is concerned, you're really going to need this one to go from the gate, correct?
For sure. And like I said, I'm not really using this one to win the race. I think that spot lies in within the 10. But I think from a pedigree perspective and who is going to take a step forward, this one does have experience, which and more experience than the Chad Brown and the Linda Rice. So maybe this one could take a big step forward, but this one is going to have to be full send from the rail, like you mentioned, Bob.
What's your thoughts on the 5 horse, the first-time starter, solid, Karen McLaughlin, Manny Franco? The works haven't been all that. Time Form likes the pedigree, especially from a turf sprint standpoint. Didn't know what you thought about the 5. Manny Franco obviously found himself at Saratoga, really solidified himself to a lot of people that he's a jockey that's going to be consistent and win some races with a high ROI. And he really got aggressive there late in the meet on the turf, putting horses in the race early. What are your thoughts on the 5 horse?
And you know what? The 5 has excellent pedigree, Bob. The mom, a stakes winner, siblings to a bunch of other nice turf runners here. My only problem is Kieran McLaughlin rarely wins first time out. This horse was in Chad Brown barn, and I knew this one could fire first time out. You have a trainer that doesn't really fire first time out, so it's tough. What do you do with a sharp pedigree horse such as this? I think this is one horse that I'm going to include tickets. If I can get a price near 15-1, and my one, is lower than what would be, then maybe I switch over to the 5 from a pedigree. This 5 has tons of pedigree, Bob.
That would be a horse that I would consider for tournaments if you're playing in a live game and you just don't want to take the chalk there at 3-5, 4-5, which is what the 10 would be if Chad Brown wasn't in the race. Probably going to be closer to 65, 75. Another horse I wanted to give you as far as value is concerned, and again, it's about ROI. It's about putting yourself in position in tournaments, and that's the 8 horse Bourbon Currency. Pedigree, not that bad. I think this horse really wants the turf. Rajiv Mirage gets back aboard for the 3rd time, first time turf. Two salty maiden special weight races at Saratoga. Granted, no factor in either. Maybe turf is what this horse has wanted all along. Again, you got to get more than 5-1, but I think it's a horse that could be an overlay, and it's just a horse that I wanted to point out to you and the viewers that maybe this horse wants turf, and maybe the experience can get this horse into the money.
Yeah, and as far as a pedigree perspective, Bob, you have to go deep into this one's pedigree, more so into the second dam family to find turf pedigree for this one, as the dam was a big dirt horse and didn't have many siblings that hit the turf either. However, I was intrigued by this one. I got a lot of respect for John Kimmel. He runs a nice operation out there on the New York circuit. They paid $260,000 for this horse. I don't think they're going to take guesses after races, Bobby, that bad from my perspective. I mean, a trainer that rarely fires first time out. It's one of the hardest things to do, in my opinion, is debut from the rail, sprinting on the dirt. And this one lost a Sporting Chance, who came back to win the Hopeful. Give Me a Minute came back to run a very good race the other day. I think this one is live. It's just a matter of, does he take to the footing? Pedigree, is average, but considering the 2 races he's run on dirt and who he's run into, I think this one could take a step forward today.
Yeah, and not to mention Pure Shot, and the horse that won the last race that this horse was in, isn't a bad horse either. And furthermore, this horse had a terrible trip, 5 wide, 4 wide. So again, I want to stress to the viewers, I'm not saying you take this horse at 5-1, but I don't think this horse is going to be 5-1. We talked, it's been well documented. We think the 10 and the 9 are going to take a ton of money. And I think this 8 is going to be more than 5-1. And I just think it's a horse that you should consider, because if the 10 beats you, it's not going to cost you that much. And that's by far your most likely winner. I don't like the 9 at all. I think the 9's a terrible bet, despite my respect for Chad Brown. I think the 5 and the 8 and your 1, as far as value is concerned, are 3 horses you need to take a strong look at, because if you don't have those horses and one of those wins in a tournament, especially with show money that now these sites have been implementing, you're going to be fighting an uphill battle for the rest of the tournament.
For sure. So Belmont race 2, Bobby, we're both in agreement that the 10 is the horse to beat. I'm going to go to the 1 from a value perspective. Now you're going to land on the 5 on the value perspective?
To me, really, Andrew, I don't want to speak as far as which one I'm going to land on. I think the 5 and the 8 both interest me, and I don't think they're going to be the odds in which they are from a morning line standpoint. So I'm really going to wait until just about they go out of the gate, look where the money's going on the board, and then make my decision from that point.
I got you. And Bob, I actually want to mention before we move on from race 2, we can't really talk about a turf sprinting maiden race without talking about Wesley Ward. Real quick, Bob, what do you make of this 6 here, cutting back?
Yeah. Johnny Velasquez and Wesley Ward teaming up are almost as lethal as Mike Smith and Bob Baffert. When those guys get together, all they do is win races. I just didn't know what to make of this one, Andrew. I wanted to like him, but I don't see how this horse can be forwardly placed early. And you know I want horses that are on or near the lead on turf races, whether they're 2 turns or sprint races. I don't understand. I don't know why he was put in a route race, first time out, which is unlike Wesley Ward, who loves to put these horses in sprints, whether it's on the dirt or turf. I think this horse may take a little money as well, and I'm afraid of what I don't know. You know what I'm saying? So from that standpoint, I'm just going to steer clear, but make no mistake about it. If the 6 horse ends up in the winner's circle, I won't be surprised at all.
Yeah, and I agree with you, Bob. You know, I guess what Connection saw, you know, they paid $240,000 for this horse. You know, has the pedigree to go long. Maybe they said, you know what, let's get cocky. Let's try to win a route race right off the bat and see where we can put this one moving forward. Didn't work out. Wire-to-wire winner won that day. Maybe now they're saying, all right, well, win under our belts like we know we can with this barn, and then we'll move on, plan B. So we'll see. But nonetheless, you're going to have to watch out for Wesley Ward and Johnny Velasquez. So, Bobby, let's move on now to Belmont Park, race 9. It's a $100,000 allowance, optional claimer going 1 mile and a 16th on the turf. Bobby, your favorite, who else than Chad Brown and Irad Ortiz getting aboard Camelot Kitten here, the 4 horse at 3-1. Bobby, what do you make of the favorite in this spot? I know you want to beat him, so how can we?
Yeah, no doubt I want to beat this horse, Andrew, and I think he's very vulnerable for the reasons that we've documented before, whether it's on air or in private conversations that we've had. They crawl on the turf going 2 turns 80 to 90% of the time. This horse is a dead closer, meaning he's going to have to work out the perfect trip. He's probably going to lose ground, and he's going to have to overcome a slow pace. And he's going to have to overcome how much ground he loses in comparison to the horses that are going to be on or near the lead. Ultra respect for Irad on the turf, obviously. Chad Brown's the greatest turf trainer of my lifetime. But I don't think there's much speed signed on here, and I'm going to try to win it up front. And if this horse wants to beat me, let him do it coming from the clouds at what, 9-5 or 2-1?
Yeah, and I think, Bobby, you're looking more toward, 7-5, 8-5. And here, because I can't really give you another horse that would take significant money that could match this 4.
Sure. I think Change Will Do You Good, the 5 horse, is a very intriguing horse, and I almost wanted to pull the trigger on him. But the fact of the matter is this horse has just been raced to death this year. And wheeling back off 15 days when he did all the dirty work early in that stakes race on August 25th that Get Jets won, I just couldn't go with it. I think the horse needs a layoff and can come back in another situation such as this and pull a stunner. So I ended up being a little bit more creative here, Andrew, and trying to dictate what I thought other horses were going to do from a pace standpoint. And I don't know what you think, but doesn't the 6 Patentar, David Jacobson, Paco Lopez, first off the claim, have to go to the lead here with a rider that we all know is going to be aggressive from the bell? Yes, at the 1:08 circuit last time out at Del Mar was 2 lengths off the lead, but that was a fast pace. Throw out the July 4th race going 1 mile, you get back to 2 turns and a little bit more from the mile distance, and this horse is on the lead. I think David Jacobson needs to tell Paco, go to the lead here. Don't let the 5 get out there by himself. And if that's the case, I think the 5 quits. I think the 6 can inherit the lead from a slow pace standpoint and make the 2 best horses in the race have to come get them, which is Black Type and Camelot Kitten. And I'm looking at double-digit odds morning line on the 6. So I'm going to take a shot here. But that's as if Paco goes to the lead with the 6, and I think he's very, very capable of doing that.
Yeah, and I agree with you, Bob. Obviously, bringing Paco Lopez aboard always means one thing for a lot of these trainers, and that's send to the front and never look back. Surprised, Bobby, this one actually didn't get claimed last time out when dropping from a grade 3 race to a $50,000 claiming race. I don't have it listed. I have it listed as a trainer change, a private purchase by David Jacobson, but that's shocking to me. I thought for sure that would have been picked up, but nevertheless, does have enough speed. It's a matter of whether or not the 5 is ready to roll today. This one was against the track in regard to the 5 was against the track last time out. It was 3 wide going into that first turn, maybe there, and then was just simply swallowed up by better horses. I think, like you mentioned, Bob, this one, the 5 horse, once again, breaks, in his race, even dating back to last June. It seems like this one runs every single month. They put him on the break from December 30th to May 7th. But other than that, he's been running a lot of races. I think this one layoff, like you mentioned, is the 6 horse. You know he's going to be on the lead. Bobby, you and I have talked about in the past how, personally, me, I was at this point in New York. If I know they're coming from the clouds, it's just not worth it to me. I want a horse that's going to sit or 2 lengths off at the very most. So I agree with you, Bob. If they let the 6 loose, could spell trouble for the rest of the riders.
Correct. Any other horse you seen going to the lead? I guess Vision Perfect, the 2 horse, stretching out from 5 furlongs to a mile and 16, could very easily get to the lead. But Andrew, my problem is I've seen horses doing this exact thing, and you look up after the first quarter mile, and they're 4.5 to 6 lengths off the lead. So I'm not sitting here saying the 2 can't go to the lead, but I don't know if that's what they're going to do. And I know the 6 can get to the lead because he's done it 2 out of his last 4 races on a circuit out in California where they are aggressive from the gate.
Yeah, and Bob, you actually mentioned my top selection here, so I'll break right into it here with the 2 Vision Perfect. This one has some question marks as far as where he wants to be in the field. Franco, who you mentioned before, Bobby, has been so aggressive on the turf, just sits this one a length or 2 off and makes one big run. That's where a lot of the winners come from. Like I said, you have to be either on the lead or 2 to 3 lengths off it. Not many closers are winning races in New York on the turf from way out of it. I think this one has enough tactical speed. Stretching out will be significantly closer today. Franco knows this horse. He's ridden them often. He can get this one right in position. They can make one run, turning for late. A few things I'm looking at here. First of all, ran that Parks Dash last time out. Jail move by Jason Service. Finished 7. I'm not really sure this one is a sprint one. To go longer, it's proven he won. But last time out, Pearson Saturday, those 2 came back to run 1-2 in the Turf Monster at Parks this past weekend. So I think this one stretching out, getting back to a distance he prefers, should be doing much better today. Jason Service, 6 for his last 9%, 11 for 19 in the money, 58%, second off the claim with a 61 to 180 day layoff. This one's coming in fresh. He's run well when he's fresh before. I don't want to let these connections who click near 40% off at 12 to 1, a $26 horse, where I know the favorite is beatable. Here, Bob, I think this one breaking from the inside, Manny knows he has to send. He knows that. I think this one sits him 2 lengths off. They look to make one run. They're going to have to come get Paco Lopez, though, as he could be potentially the lone speed should he put away the 5 early.
Yeah, Andrew, I mean, look, whether you're right, I'm right, we're attacking this race in the proper way. You need to be forwardly placed in races like this, especially in the types of games that I play. When you're in a tournament, you're against 65 people or 100 people, you're not going to win tournaments playing horses like Black Type, who I have a lot of respect for, and obviously Camelot Kitten, who I also have a lot of respect for. These horses are just up against it on this circuit, going this distance. And if the 2 is forwardly placed, it could be a handful. Same with the 6, and we know the 5 is going to take him as long as he can. So, my advice out there to the listeners, we've seen this for 2 years now on the Niagara circuit. You think you're on the best horse, and then you're 8 lengths off the lead. You close into 52 and change, and you run 4th. Don't do that anymore. Be in this race early. Find horses and jockeys that want to be aggressive and roll the dice at a price.
And, could be more with you, Bob. And it's just a simple matter of that's where the winners are coming from. And I have a lot of respect for guys who watch, myself, but guys who watch replays on a consistent basis, watch the head on with the pan view, chart out plays. I mean, those, the track is, that information is where you find winners like this. Bob, who else do you find interesting in this group besides the 6?
Like I said, I think the 5 is certainly interesting. I just think it's a matter of attrition with this horse at this point. And the other horse that I looked at was certainly your 2 horse. If the horse is in the race early and can get the distance, then the 2 is a major player at double-digit odds.
Couldn't agree more with you, Bob. So hopefully, we're right on the money here. But like Bob and I said, find horses on these NYRA turf courses that are on or near the lead, because it's not worth chasing 9 to 5s that are going to be dead last and closing from the clouds, like Bobby said, into that 52.5. So hopefully we get a big price home in this race. We're both on double-digit odds. So, Bobby, let's move down here to Kentucky Downs, all-turf racing. Kentucky Downs Race 8. It's the Kentucky Downs Ladies Sprint, $350,000 the purse, 6.5 furlong, 1 Mississippi Delta for Mark Cassie and Julian Leperoux. Bob, it's tough to take short prices at this turf course here, especially in big fields. What do you make of the favorite?
Julian Leperoux, probably the best the best jockey at this racetrack. Mark Cassie and Julian Leperoux, when they team up on the turf inside the state of Kentucky, they're very, very difficult to deal with. So I certainly understand why this horse is the favorite, but considering the prices that we've seen at this racetrack since Wednesday, we just can't take a horse at 3 to 1, considering the prices that you're going to see on a consistent basis at this racetrack. Although this one horse probably is your most likely winner, but I use that certainly in air quotes.
Yeah, and Bob, I think this one is just way too beatable here. I think you have to go out and get a price. 2 backing Intercontinental. I think this one really tripped out. So I'm not looking to play him back off that. That last time, that stakes race at Saratoga, going 5.5 furlongs. This one has shown to like the soft ground, but I guess he didn't last time out. It's just declining in form, and I'm not willing to take 3 to 1 on this one. Bob, the horse I'm looking at here, at 9 to 2, number 6, Mordecai for George Cano. I mean, you really cannot knock him here. 5 wins over the turf in 6 starts. Only second came to La Cornell in the Appalachian at Keeneland earlier this spring. Debut over a muddy dirt course, throw it out. I think this one's a real runner. I think this one first weekend of November, come Del Mar time. I think this one's a perfect stalking trip. Jumps off the favorite to ride here. I think I'm here with number 6, Mordecai, Bob.
Understand. I usually look for horses that are going to cut back in distance at a racetrack like this, just because of the uphill turf course. Now, granted, I haven't had a very good week at Kentucky Downs because it's an unbelievably difficult racetrack to handicap. But I took a big-time shot here, and I'm going with the 3-horse Corby at 20 to 1 morning line. Brendan Walsh, Rocco Jr. gets aboard. This horse has shown exponential speed going much longer, and I think this horse has a chance to just be able to outdistance them, if you will. Because what I'm saying by that, I'm looking at a lot of sprint horses that are struggling at this racetrack going the sprint distance. You're not seeing it all the time, but you're seeing it on a consistent basis. And I'm just looking at a horse that's cutting back, that has been running in a couple of stakes races. If you go back to the Ellis Park race, Andrew, July 8th, I don't think the horse embarrassed herself by any stretch of the imagination. And last time out at Mountaineer on a good turf course, August 5th, she got beat a neck, cutting back, some workouts that seemed to be pretty strong in the 3 furlong variety, trying to get her into the race early. And I think if she can be second, third shelf, she just might be in better shape than the rest of these horses that are sprinting. Can't talk me off of a 20 to 1 shot that might be an overlay. I'll roll the dice. Corby, 3-horse, 20 to 1 morning line.
And I looked at this one for a long time, Bob, and Though this one has never won on the turf, 10 starts, 5 seconds, 2/3. This one runs some bang out races here. Now you're getting 20-1 on a horse that has proven can run with some very sharp horses down at Churchill Downs. I mean, there's not many standouts to me in this field. Sure, Mississippi Delta. But other than that, I mean, you're having these horses that are running good allowance races. So I think this one absolutely fits. That aren't winning these overnight stakes races in New York, but are winning allowance races, and you have this one that's consistently winning allowance races at Churchill Downs. Why settle for 7-2 over 20-1, in my opinion? And I don't play Kentucky Downs too often, but the way I would handicap and the way I have been handicapping it as of late is I just want horses that are on the front end, and that's why I looked at Corby for a long time. I figure a horse that's on the front end on an intricate racetrack like this can't really find itself into trouble. So I'm with you on this one. This one's definitely going to be included on all my tickets here. I think this one is the fastest of them all. The cutback should really suit this one. Like you mentioned, those workouts, 4 furlong, 3 furlong workouts, both from the gate. They're trying to get this one rocking and rolling here. Joe Rocco, he knows this track. One of the Kentucky veterans down there, Brendan Walsh. I've been on record on the show before. Very high of his stuff down there, especially in this Kentucky circuit. I'm with you, Bob. I think Corby's a runner at 20-1. I'm not too worried about the class issue because I don't think the other horses are winning at the classes they're at anyway. So this is definitely one I'm going to be wheeling around. And, Bob, I think this one could get loose on Mordecai here. That's because I know this horse is going to be up close, and I want this one to make one run. But I think from the rail going sharp into that left-handed turn they make from the 6 furlong pole, I think this one has a big shot drawing from that inside post.
Your thoughts on the 5, the Lull, that I know is going to take a lot of money, too much money for my liking. This horse has been very consistent, ran a bang-up race July 23rd out at Del Mar, and 2 starts back makes it a major player. Clement, Hernandez, but again, Andrew, too short of a price for me considering how wide open this race was. But despite the odds, your thoughts on Lull and her chances of running well on Saturday?
This one was actually my morning line favorite, Bobby. I thought this one would be, 3-1. I actually put this one at 7-2 and kind of threw the odds elsewhere, but I thought this one would be the favorite for sure. A lot of the DRF guys that I follow are high on this one as well. Has been facing some tough competition. Mordecai, my selection, got nosed out to 2 back. La Cornell, New Money Honey, the Breeders' Cup Juvenile Turf. Conti Partio, one of Chad Brown's good turf horses. Surprised this one's not a favorite. I think this one eventually goes off as the favorite, though, Bob. And like you mentioned, very tough to take favorites at this race course where you have such big fields and so much needs to happen.
Yeah, I mean, I think if they're running at a conventional turf course, this horse is well below 5-1. But as I've seen all week, this turf course is unlike anything else in the States, and some horses just don't take to it. And I don't think this horse is in as good a form as she was last year. Despite I give her a ton of credit for running well this year, I think if she was in form the way she was July 23rd, the way she was last year, she wins that race on July 23rd. But nonetheless, I can't take this horse based off of what I think the price is going to be. But to be quite honest, Andrew, I think this horse is as good as Mississippi Delta, or if not better. It's just the one horse is going to take a lot of money because of the connections.
Yeah, for sure, with Mark Cassian and Julian Leparoux, and obviously this being more of their home base, if you will, than Christophe Clement. I agree with you on that angle. But I'm just against that. I'm against Mississippi Delta. I'm against Lull. I don't think they've proven enough as of late, to be worth taking a short price. I'm not doubting that probably they're the better horses in the field, Bobby, but as far as what they've done as of late, and these are New York horses shipping into tracks that, I mean, granted, they both have run over this course and have won over this course, but, I mean, did they trip out in those races? I'm more comfortable with taking, horses at a bigger price if that was the case. That's why I kind of land on Mordecai, because I've seen firsthand what this horse has been doing, and I think this horse is in the better form of any horse in the field. But but I think it's going to be very tough for you to land on a horse shipping in at less than 3-1, which is probably what we see Lowell and Mississippi Delta at.
Couldn't agree with you more, Andrew. And I think we see this race pretty similar from most likely winners as well as value.
For sure. And so, Bobby, give us your top selection once again for race 8 here at Kentucky Downs.
I'm on the 3 Corby at 20-1. Not sure what the horse is going to go off at, but I like to cut back in distance. I like the speed that I've seen from this horse previously going longer. And I just feel like, in my personal opinion, horses cutting back in distance on a racetrack like this have an advantage. So I'll roll the dice with a horse that's well above what I think she should be from a morning line standpoint.
And I like Bobby's horse a lot, so definitely a horse I would wheel underneath as well. Sharp speed on the cutback. Brendan Walsh, you got to use him. I'm on Morticia here, number 6 at 9-2. I think this one is in better form than any horse in this field. And I'm going to make a bold prediction. I think you see this one come Breeders' Cup time at Del Mar. So, Bobby, let's wrap it up here with Kentucky Downs Race 10. It's the Kentucky Turf Cup, $600,000 to the winner. 1.5 miles on the turf. Bobby, your favorite, number 7, Enterprising at 3-1 from Mike Maker and Corey Lannery. Bob, I know you got to be against this one because I think this is the most beatable favorite that we're talking about today.
The most beatable favorite that we have talked about today. And I don't even understand why this horse is the favorite. And the reason I say that, we just talked about the one horse in race 8. Although we think the horse is very beatable, we understand why the horse is 3-1. It's Julian Leparoux. It's Mike Maker with 2 connections that have teamed up. This horse has won at that racetrack, has faced tough company, et cetera, et cetera. This horse is Enterprising is being bet off one race and one race alone, which is its last race. In my opinion, I don't know, Andrew. There are so many question marks about this horse. I mean, the inconsistency of this horse is beyond belief. And if you want to bet a horse that's winning races on a good turf course at fairgrounds at 3-1, you be my guest. But I want nothing to do with this setup.
Yeah, and and I'm in agreement with you, Bob. I guess that 4th place finish in the Arlington Million, where this one really tripped out on the inside there, almost sneaking up on Beach Patrol. But at 80-1, I think this one just ran the race of its life. I'm not sold on this one. I don't really like going from horses that are 80-1 to 3-1. I get it. It was the Arlington Million. But now you're asking a horse to stretch out to a distance that he's never even been close to, Bob. Usually you see horses, going from 1 3/8 to 1.5 miles. I mean, this one's running 1.25 miles and not winning. I don't think this distance fits this one whatsoever. I think this one is a very, very beatable favorite. When it comes to who should be the favorite, I guess you can make a case for Oscar Nominated, who's been running consistently against better. Because I don't think you can make the one the favorite, but I guess Oscar Nominated would be the horse to beat, I guess. Bob, you got an idea of who should be the favorite here?
Yeah, I just couldn't help but laugh when you say that, because when I'm reading this race and I knew that you were going to ask me this question, I felt like I was sitting in your seat just now. Sure. I guess I don't like Oscar Nominated either. You want to talk about a horse that throughout the 2017 campaign has had ample opportunity after ample opportunity to win races and has hung worse than Beach Patrol in 2017, despite Beach Patrol winning at Arlington, and hats off to him. I can't bet this horse either, but has he run the most consistent numbers? Sure. Has he faced the toughest competition? Maybe. Do you know what you're going to get out of him every single time, which is a valiant effort and 100% because this horse has guts? Absolutely. So sure. If we want to decide here on your show that Oscar Nominated is the most likely winner or end up being the favorite, I have no qualms with it, but I'm not taking this horse either.
And I'm not either, Bob. So let's break into our top selections. Who are you on here?
Well, Andrew, I know I've talked about prices, and I've always stressed here, go with a big price, but I really, really, really love the 11 to Glee. I think this horse is in peak form. I love Jose Ortiz. I think this racetrack could very well fit this horse's skill set. I think you need to close in a race like this going 1.5 miles. And when I'm saying not coming from the clouds, but you've got to be coming home fast in that last quarter, going 1.5 miles at a racetrack like Kentucky Downs, in my opinion. And there's no other horse in this race that has a faster closing time than Taqlid. I get the best jockey in the country. I just like this horse a lot. And I don't think $12 is what he should be. And I think Oscar nominated could very well be bet below the 11. I think the one horse could very well be bet below the 11 as well. Maybe I'm completely wrong. If the 11 gets bet down, I'll look elsewhere. But make no mistake about it, I think the 11 horse is much the horse to beat here in race 10.
And, I looked at this one for a long time, Bob. And, Jose Ortiz giving up a lot of solid mounts on Saturday at Belmont, to come ride this one here. What's that?
I said that's a great point. Absolutely great point.
Yeah, and couldn't agree more with your selections on this one. This one has beat a lot of tough horses. Earlier this year when he got that win at Gulfstream Park on the 28th, and dating back, he had some good wins. I think this one has just been a tad unlucky this year, but I think this one is running some very, very sharp races. In the Man O' War, Sukova, who came in that day shipping in from Ireland, came in, won by 6 lengths over a yielding turf course, and nobody was beating that horse that day. In the Belmont Gold Cup, if the race stopped at the 1.5 miles, this one looked like a winner, but that extra couple furlongs there going 2 miles didn't really help this one at all. Arlington Handicap ran a good race, was closing well, ran well in the gallop out. I think that's what makes this one a good horse for the 1.5 mile distance. So I'm with you. I think this one is very tough. You land on a Mike Maker horse. I land on a Mike Maker horse. I'm going directly to your inside, Bob, and that's number 10, St. Louis at 30-1. Last race when you were talking about going to get prices, I'm with you. That's why I want to get this one home. This one has been running very consistently, and I know he can take to this distance, and I think that's what's so big. I don't want to contradict myself because I said earlier that it's tough for shippers, from New York to win here, but I use that argument in the sake of when those horses are 3-1, 4-1, 7-2, you're getting 30-1 on this one. I'm all for that. I'm all for taking the value here. This one is running very consistently, hits the board 6 times in his 8 starts this year. 3 back, Belmont Stakes weekend, wins a very gutsy win. Wins by a neck going 1 mile 3/8 over some other sharp horses. Next out at Saratoga, 3 wide into that first turn, all the way out in the 10 post. You got to toss that race. Call Provision comes back to crush the next group he faced. Last out in the John's Call, Infinite Wisdom was not losing that race. This one bobbled hard at the break and was hurried up early to contest a hot pace. I think this one really gets it today. This one has the tactical speed to be posted up front end early on and make that one run. Got a lot of respect for Tyler Gaffalione, who won 2 races the other day at Kentucky Downs. Maybe he's, getting accustomed to the turf course. Who knows? I think Mike Maker has a big one here at 30-1. Maybe not winning the race because he is a little bit outclassed, but nonetheless, take chances, shoot your shot. I'm going to land here at 30-1, Bob.
All bets are off when it comes to Kentucky Downs, Andrew. We can throw class out the window. I've seen jockeys that win at 4%, that win by 2 lengths at 50-1. This is Kentucky Downs, and it's a completely different animal. And I will say this to defend your point. When are you ever going to get Mike Maker and Tyler Gaffalione, who I think leads the country in wins? He's having a heck of a meet at Gulfstream. When are you going to get those guys at $62? And this horse he's not even the worst horse in this race. This 30-1 morning line is ridiculous. There's other horses in here that I think should be well above what the 10 is from a morning line standpoint. And I'm never going to talk you off 30-1. And for you to pick 30-1 on the show in public takes guts. So I give you a ton of credit. And I have no problem with this 10 horse whatsoever. In fact, I like your 10 in race 10 more than I do your 6 in race 8.
Well, listen, Bob, I'll take the 30-1 over 9-2 any day. So that one can finish dead last as long as this one wins. How's that?
Andrew, I have a question for you. I wanted to ask you about the 3-horse, and I'm not going to butcher the name, so I'm not going there. But this horse is another horse that's been coming home that last quarter very fast, but he is stretching out in distance. But it looks like distance may be this horse's friend. Ran his eyeballs out June 18th at Monmouth. Many could have said that day he should have won that race. Then faced a lot better July 21st at Saratoga, wins the race by a head, and I thought it was ultra impressive last time out at 8-5. McLaughlin, although cold, sees fit to ship him here. Not a big fan of Joe Bravo, but he did win some races and ride well at times at Saratoga. 6-1, I think you'll get an overlay, move past the odds. Just from a performance standpoint, what do you think you're going to get out of here with the 3?
You know what? When I put the morning lines together, I thought this one was going to be near 10-1, and I actually took a very, very long look at this one. But then I saw 30-1 on a horse that I've done well on the pass, and I jumped there. But I think this one has to be respected today. Let's go back and look at this one. First start in America on the dirt, doesn't like it, toss it. Runs on the turf, runs a pretty competitive third. Off the track, wins it with ease. Then goes into the inner at Aqueduct, going 2 turns, crushed by over 60 lengths combined, toss those races, gets back on the turf off a long layoff in Monmouth. Like he says, runs his eyes out behind a very good horse in War Flag. 2 back at Saratoga. I was against this one. This one snuck up the rail and basically nosed me out from Infinite Wisdom that day, who I believe I was single to. I wanted to play against this one next time out. Because I thought he tripped out the race before. Thought I could beat him at 9-5, but he made me look silly. He took that race in hand. I think this one benefits from the distance stretch out today. I think this one also benefits from the pace setup. I think this one has to be respected. I'm not the biggest Joe Bravo guy, but I've learned that it's all about the horse. And you can't make silly mistakes playing against jockeys. I think this one has to be respected, Bob.
As far as what you think Oscar nominated is going to go off at, we both mentioned that we thought the 4 was going to end up being the favorite. Do you think 2-1, 3-1 on the 4, which is going to raise other horses' odds? Throw out Enterprising. I think that horse is going to end up going off above 3-1. I feel like most of the public is going to agree with what we said earlier. Is the 4 being bet going to give maybe me a better price on the 11, or do you see the 11 ended up going off second choice behind the 4? So first question, what's the 4 going to be from an odds standpoint, and will him being bet down help me with the odds of my 11, or do you think I'm going to have to end up looking elsewhere?
No, I think you get 5-2 on this 4 Oscar nominated, just because you know what, like he is the class of the field, and many people that don't play Kentucky Downs often and don't look into, deep into the card from class perspective, are just going to toss half the field and are going to bet a horse that is dropping out of Grade 1 company. I think the 4 goes off at 5-2. With that being said, I think your 11 Taglib is the forgotten about Mike Maker horse, and I think he sticks around 5-1, 6-1 come post time.
Well, and if I get 5-1 or 6-1 on those types of connections with what I feel like is the best jockey in the country and a guy that really does well in Kentucky Downs, I don't think anyone that remotely likes the 11 can look past this horse.
And Bob, like you said, I agree with you. I think Maker wins this race one way or another, whether it's with Taglib or St. Louis. You probably have a better chance than me, Bob, but I think we can definitely squeak out of here with one of these horses. I think the favorites are very vulnerable. I think the one horse on the rail, who I think is a very good horse, but I think it's going to be very tough to get positioning early, from that rail spot with speed right to his outside. So I think we're on to something here, Bob. We'll try to bring home a price because that's what we're going for here at Kentucky Downs. So Bobby's on the 11. Tag lead from Mike Maker and Jose Ortiz, giving up a lot of good mounts at Belmont to ride this one. Keep that in mind. I'm on number 10, St. Louis, from Mike Maker and Tyler Gaffalione, 30-1. So that will do it here for another edition of Turning for Home. My guest, Bobby Shoemaker. Bobby, thanks for coming on this week.
Thanks so much, Andrew. Love to be on, and I'll be back anytime.
Awesome. Sounds good. And Good luck to everybody playing this weekend.